Hi, I'm Matt from Interformula, and welcome to our Research and Development Centre. We do all forms of research and development, all the way from designing and developing our own race cars, to simulators, to running cars in racing series and rallying all over the world. We also do a lot in the Asian Classic Car Championship, so do look out for us. For any information, do contact us with the number down below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to this, the finale of Season 2 of the Adrenaline-Packed iRacing Malaysia Championship in the Kia Optimas. It's all going to go down to this with a very tight battle for the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship as well. This is going to be an absolutely spectacular race coming up right in a few minutes' time. So let's have a quick look at the top 10 drivers. Ilham Hlabi is at the top of the leaderboard for Todak Motorsports. 129 plays Jazrin Jali's 126. That's the Todak Motorsports driver in the first place. Jazrin Jali driving for Outhouse FCR Performance Team A in second. That's just 3 points separating them. And with 30 points for a win, it's going to be a very, very close and hard-fought battle between those two drivers. Dominic Ang is in third position. He's technically still in with a shot of taking the championship as well for Team URT Black. So Dominic Ang will be right there trying to get as much of an advantage, especially if the top two have any problems. Ruben Wong is fourth for Team URT Pink, followed by Muhammad Hafiz Kamaruni in fifth place, Najib Chua in sixth, Nazmi Masli in seventh, Saiful Arifin in eighth, Afizul Jai in ninth, and Eddie Adrian in 10th place. In the Teams Championship, Todak Motorsports is out in front, 182 points, plays Outer House FCR Performance Team A's 169, with TBRT Pink down in 139. Theoretically, all three of these teams could possibly take the championship, but from where we're looking at right now, the big battle is going to be between the Todak Motorsports guys and the Outer House FCR Performance Team A crew. So that's going to be a very exciting race indeed. Team URT Black is in fourth, followed by Outhouse FCR Performance Team B, Padawan SRCP, Android King Todak SSAT, Todak Motorsports Asia, Dante's Todak Motorsports, and Padawan SRCA in 10th place. And this is what they're going to be fighting for. The drivers, as you can see, they're 3 points apart, with Dominic Ang a further 10 points behind. This is what they're going to be trying to fight for. For the Drivers' Championship, the first place winner in the championship is going to get a trophy, 300 ringgit cash, a ZS LC1 pedal by Precision Sim Racing, along with 200 ringgit vouchers from both Works Engineering and Android King. Second place will get a trophy, 200 ringgit cash, a mystery gift by Todak Motorsports, along with a 100 ringgit voucher from Works Engineering and a 100 ringgit voucher from Android King. And the third place man will also get a trophy, 100 ringgit in cash, and an Android box by Android King, along with 50 ringgit vouchers from Works Engineering and Android King. The team championship winner is also going to get 400 bucks in cash and 200 ringgit worth of vouchers from Works Engineering and Android King, whilst the rookie of the season is going to get a very special wall clock along with their trophy and a 50 ringgit voucher each from Works Engineering and Android King. So some very tasty prizes up for grabs for the winner of the championships. And now we take a look at this legendary circuit there. The Andretti hairpin is going to be absolutely exciting, a place for big overtaking maneuvers there. The corkscrew, one of the most legendary corners in all of motorsports, and rainy curve, one of the hardest corners to get right. Located in Monterey, California, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is our host for this evening. A lap distance of 3.6 kilometers long, 11 turns, and a very, very challenging track indeed, with a lot of elevation changes. So this is going to be very, very exciting indeed. Now before we get into it, I'm just going to have a quick thanks and a quick shout out to our sponsors who have helped us out quite a lot throughout the course of this season. Special shout out goes out to Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision, Sim Racing, Android King, and our supporter for this season, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia. So yeah, this is going to be an absolutely exciting race as we have a look at that fantastic Laguna Seca circuit. We're going to be joining the action just down there at the moment. Right now they're halfway through practice session, and it's looking like it's going to be a very fast race around this former MotoGP venue. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed. I'm your host for this evening, Max Palmer. Joining us in the virtual studio in a little while will be Chan Wei Han, who will join us in just a few minutes' time. But also with me tonight is Khairul Alam, our broadcast director. And as we see there, it's going to be an 18-degree air temp, 78-degree humidity, and winds gusting up to 10 kilometers an hour, 21 degrees C out on the track. There is going to be an early morning race for these guys, so hopefully they're going to be wide awake and switched on for the battle to come. Meanwhile, we're going to have a quick look at the practice session as it unfolds. Teguh Irsyad is currently in first position with a 128.525, a very fast lap time indeed. Also, quick lap time from Nigel Chua in second place, and Freddie Ng, along with Dominic Ang in fourth, Shami Azri in fifth place. Teguh Jan has just taken over that fifth place from Shami Azri, and Aaron Lim in seventh, followed by Afizul Jai, Teguh Ezan, Danish Iman in 11th place there, with James Russell just outside of that 128. So the top 11 cars are in the 128-minute bracket. So it's going to be a very tight battle up there at the front there. The top 24 cars are either doing 128s or 129. So it's going to be an incredibly close race throughout the course of this season. Special thanks and shout out goes out to Apple and Nevsky Chin for liking the stream, and for those of you guys who have just joined us, do leave us a comment down below in case we have made any mistakes, or if you just want to have a chat. Some of the drivers who aren't competing in the race will occasionally drop by as well, so do say hi to them if they do pop up. But whilst you're leaving a comment down there, hit that like button and share it with your mates and spread that sim racing love around. Teguh Janley there in sixth place. It's going to be a very challenging run around the circuit there as he comes across the final corner. Let's see what Teguh Jan can do on this lap. He was quicker in his previous one. Let's see if he's going to go for it again across the line, climbing up through the hill there. It's an absolutely blind approach to the first corner there. You have to be absolutely perfect. As you can see there, Teguh Janley using all of the curve and then some, going into the Andretti hairpin. It's a double apex left-hander. Very, very difficult to get that right. Now coming on through turns, through these series of very, very fast right-handers, and they actually go faster the further into the lap you go through them. That's the second of the right-handers. He's going to go underneath the bridge there. He just has to deal with a little bit of traffic before he dives into this left-hander there.
Hi, Matt. I couldn't keep myself from there.
That was a big sideways attempt there, maybe, perhaps.
I think he just misses drifting.
Perhaps.
Okay, if not mistaken, Apple is one of the dads in this our lineup, driver lineup. If not mistaken lah, I think it's Danish Iman's dad. I might be wrong. Maybe somebody can correct, or somebody can clear up that in the comments.
Yeah, do hop into the comment section below and let us know. But it's nice to see him on the broadcast nevertheless, and showing their support there. But it's nice to see that all the family and everything are getting into it as well. Very exciting stuff indeed. Jasri Jali is one of the championship contenders there. He's looking like it's going to be a very entertaining race for him either which way. So now he squares that car up, going up through the gears. He's into 6th gear right now, coming across the line. Let's see what his lap time is. He lets a quicker car go past, and it looks like he might be on a slow down lap there.
Yeah, he's slowed down there.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Kelvinder Singh.
Right, Kelvinder Singh is going up to a very special part of the course there, through this left-hand kink where you really have to get the line right, up the grey hull rise and into the corkscrew. Absolutely blind on the entry before you turn in, just a fraction after you see the corner, and then you really have to get on the throttle early and sort of trust that the bottom of the corner will hold you, and then you go through Rainy Curve, which is a variable radius corner, so it tightens and opens up and tightens up again, so it's a very, very difficult section of track to try and get right. But Kelvinder Singh seems to be doing very well for himself through that final sector. Let's see what he can do in terms of lap time this time around. Let's see, 129.169, just off his 129.111.
Somebody we don't see regularly now. Wicked is very busy with his schedules, daily streams, and is very active in many platforms of simulation racing, right?
Yep, absolutely. He is quite quick in Gran Turismo Sport, and he's also been doing quite a few other gaming and racing streams as well. But Wicked Low is in the final round. It's absolutely fantastic to see him supporting the SSAD Go Racing Gen Y team, and we know he can be quite quick. He's very, very consistent as well, so it'll be very interesting to see how Wicked Low gets on throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, we also have Muhammad Khalif. He used to be with Speed Tavern, right?
Yes.
Now
so
he's under Android King. So he's doing quite well, but unfortunately for the satellite team of Android King, this is a satellite king, right? Satellite team, sorry. And they seem not to get enough points to get in the top rows. So, but he's performing rather well.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a team that is on a path of building something a little bit better. Perhaps we'll see them come back even stronger for round 3. But Muhammad Khalif has improved by leaps and bounds ever since his first foray into the AIMC Championships. So it looks like he might be improved. He might be getting up to the point where he might be able to lead the satellite team for season 3. Meanwhile, he is closing up very quickly onto that car up ahead. That's Shami Azri, and it looks like he's not falling back too much. So perhaps by the end of this session, he might be able to go a few places up in terms of the leaderboard positions. But right now, 41 minutes have passed, almost 42 minutes have passed in this qualifying session. That's roughly 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes to go in the session before they go into the qualifying session and the race. So this practice session, a lot of the drivers will be going for a quick lap time, but a lot of the other drivers will also be trying their sort of stint simulations. They're going to try and go for those longer runs and learn just a little bit more about the cars and what they're capable of doing around this track here. Now, very interesting things have happened throughout the course of the week. They've been practicing very hard around the track here, but quite a few drivers have been trying to push for a late one-stop strategy, so that might be an interesting tactic to see here. It looks like a two-stopper is out of the question in terms of pace, but it could become a reality if there is a yellow flag or something of that nature. But
okay, speaking of this is Calvin Ha, because he is one of our supporters in form of Precision Sim Racing. So he is the owner of Precision Sim Racing. What do they do? Precision Sim Racing name, right?
Right, so Precision Sim Racing, Calvin Ha, right now he's got underneath his feet, I am sure, a fantastic set of pedals. So the Precision Sim Racing do a very good line of sim racing components, and sim racing accessories as well. And one of their top line products is this pedal box system that really works quite well indeed. You can just have a look at that, and one lucky man might have to take that home and use that in his sim racing setup, because Kelvin Ha has rather generously given us a grand prize. So very, very nice indeed. In the meanwhile, we have Chun Wei Hum. Hi, Chun. He's almost there. We'll get to him in a split second.
Okay, we have Arif Ruslan. He's quite performing in a few rounds, early rounds for SSAD Go Racing. A couple of podiums also.
Yeah.
So
perhaps the SSAD guys might be another team to look out for the next season, because they started the season mostly in the mid-pack, but Arif Ruslan especially has improved by quite a lot, and it looks like he might be able to spring a surprise this time around, but the times are very, very close there. So
okay, let's go on his hot lap.
Absolutely diving down into the brakes here and around the first corner. This is the Andretti hairpin, 2 corners mixed into one there, a double apex left-hander. Now coming into these series of 3 right-handers through here, and each one faster than the last, so it really pays to build up the confidence and try and push just a little bit harder every time we go through these corners there. But you have to be very careful, because the surface here is very, very slippery indeed. Now coming down underneath the Mother's Bridge, this left-hander is absolutely critical, because after this point, the speed you take through this corner is going to largely dictate the speed you're going to end up on the Rahal straight and into the bus stop chicane. The final kink before the Rahal pit, really very, very rough on the edge of the corner. They're absolutely on the edge of adhesion, and now coming up to the corkscrew bend, it's absolutely blind as you come into the braking zone. You've got to turn in, and then you've got to be really hard on the throttle coming out of it and trust that the compression is going to take the car through. Now through Rainy Corner, very, very difficult to try and get that racing line right through there. You've got to make a smooth line through a very unsmooth corner indeed. Now coming up to the penultimate corner, and this is going to be another heavy braking zone for the drivers. The final corner here, we've seen some absolutely spectacular racing go through this place. Second gear, just about 95 kilometers an hour, the slowest part of the track, before he builds up speed through the gears and across the line. And that was a 129.956. And now he looks like he's quite slow in 24th position, but look at how close the times are. Absolutely spectacular.
First 28 drivers are in the 138 to 129 bracket. Yeah. That's almost 70% of the grid.
Yeah. Absolutely spectacular stuff indeed. Now I wonder if Wei Hun's got himself into the studio by now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to load the project file of
all right,
live timing software. I'll be up very soon.
So while you do that, what do you think about the current situation we have right now? We have 28 drivers within 2 seconds of each other.
What? Wow, that's really fast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think given that this track is still kind of on the short side, maybe about mid-length, I think it's more to the fact that these drivers are all very close to one another, and also the fact that usually when we come to this stage of pace, right, the drivers are all within margins of error from one another, and you have to. It's all about the marginal gains that you can make ahead of everyone else in order to gain whatever positions you can.
Absolutely, it's all about that last inch of track, that last meter of braking, and the earliest possible time we can get on the throttle at this point. The level of driving in the series when it comes to hot lapping has risen by leaps and bounds throughout the course of season 2 especially. It's very, very fascinating to see. It's almost as close as it is in the V8 Supercar Championship, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
I do apologise. There's 3 cars that just gone off right in front of Kelvin T, which probably frightened him ever so slightly, but he's still going, so I do apologise. Carry on.
So, in fact, I would imagine that touring cars like these, even though they're front-wheel drive, they do still bear a lot of similarities to the V8 supercar counterparts, in the sense that the kind of racing is still very close. Partly owing to the fact that these cars do not exactly have the fastest top speed, but they do handle really well, given the weight of the cars, and also, because these cars can take quite a beating, pretty much racing close quarters is a given.
Absolutely, just like any classic touring cars, you can really race very close to each other, and their relatively benign handling does help out a little bit. They have their quirks. They can be very hard on the front tires, especially if you haven't got the throttle input sorted quite yet, and they are quite thirsty cars indeed in terms of fuel consumption, although it must be said we have artificially limited these cars to 50% of the normal fuel tank capacity, just to try and spice up the racing a little bit. But these cars have proven to be very, very exciting cars indeed to go racing in.
Yeah, certainly, and also given the fact that all the cars here are exactly the same, you don't exactly have a few different manufacturers throughout the group as you would see with TCR. So this does kind of even out the whatever minor differences, if any, that you usually find with the different cars of the TCR race. Over here, it's all the same cars, so it's all down to setup and the driver. So we're now with Dominic Ag, and I always like to think that with real life drivers who come on and race on iRacing, sometimes it does offer them the opportunity to take on cars that are probably different from the cars they drive in real life. So I would remember that Dominic drives the GT3 car in real life, and he's in a touring car, the Kia Optima here, which is, I would imagine, quite different.
Absolutely, and you've seen the difference it makes from one series to the next. Michael, for instance, wasn't the quickest driver in the MX-5 cars, but he has, even though he's had quite a bit of an up and down season so far, he has proven at times to be very quick in these front-wheel drive Kia Optimas. So there is definitely a few biases that a lot of the real-life drivers take from the real-life racing circuit into sim racing. It just goes to show that iRacing is very, very accurate indeed when it comes to that respect. But looks like Dominic Ang definitely improving quite a bit in terms of his front-wheel drive prowess. And now with 10, sorry.
Whoops. Yeah, so I do apologize. I'm totally not in the rhythm today, man. So sorry. So we're still in the practice session. We've got about 9 minutes to go towards the end of the practice. So as usual, the usual configuration, the usual arrangement in the race allows drivers 1 hour of practice time, which means that they'll have quite a lot of time to kind of get even more comfortable with the car. So if drivers come in here without having enough practice, they'll get to know the car. And drivers who have practiced will get to know the car even more, which will allow them to push their cars further during qualifying. And of course, qualifying will be 4 laps, which means that it's probably going to be closed qualifying. That means one car, one track. And whilst we're able to see everyone, drivers will not be able to see one another during qualifying.
Absolutely, and that has its advantages. It also has its own sort of disadvantages as well. For one, they don't have unlimited laps to try and get that fastest lap time. They've got 4 laps, so you're going to see a lot of drivers abort their laps if they know they're going too slowly. But on the other hand, they don't have any traffic to worry about, so they can just hot lap the track and try and drive on the ideal line. But as the Dudley here, getting just a little bit sideways through their rainy curve. It's so deceptively easy looking on the map, but it is very, very difficult indeed to try and get right.
So having a look at various scenes at this point, of course, this track is very picturesque. And I just like to think that, Laguna Seca in the virtual world, in the sim racing world, and even the racing game world, it's kind of had a reputation as one of the more iconic racetracks that you would, you would get an opportunity to kind of see in the various racing game titles, on top of the sim titles that you do experience. I would imagine that it's probably due to its unique layout and the specific corkscrew corner, but of course, what this means is that drivers are able to have a better appreciation of what exactly makes a track like Laguna Seca so unique. Even though you don't feel you don't feel yourself dropping down 4 stories high, you still can. You still have to control your car as you take it down the corkscrew. So we're now with Afisul Jai, which is 14th on the practice lap time standings. His lap time is a 1:28.911, which is, it's only 0.6 of a second away from the fastest driver. Oh well, that was sudden.
Let's get that in slow-mo.
Let's just have a quick look at that again. There was one car who spun off and unfortunately was facing the wrong way just as this group of cars came through, and that looks like something out of a Bond film, doesn't it?
Oh my.
That's another driver that's had a close call throughout the course of their practice session. Of course, Laguna Seca, very famous in the sim racing community. For those of you who want to know just a little bit of a factoid, of all the non-Formula 1 tracks that are in iRacing, this was the first one to be digitized way back in 1999 for the game Gran Turismo 2. So that was also the first real-life racetrack that was in the Gran Turismo franchise. It's Laguna Seca.
Oh, that's great to know, man. Then, would it happen to be that all the other tracks in Gran Turismo up to that point were more fictional?
Yeah.
Oh, wow! I had no idea. I thought all tracks were real.
Yeah. They've announced that they're going to bring back the fictional tracks, places like Grand Valley and things like that. But for a long time, the focus was on real-life racing tracks for the PS3 and PS4 generations, especially. But coming up with the brand new Gran Turismo 7 that's coming out, which not gonna lie, kind of have an eye on that. They're going to bring back some of the old school sort of tune your cars up and some of the more fanciful racetracks. Surun Raju, one of our drivers that have joined us mid-season, is now out on track with Club Automobilista Hermanos Veloces.
It means Speedy Brothers? Something like that?
Yes. That's right. And that is...
that's unfortunate.
Perhaps that brother was just a little bit too speedy going through that corner. I'll see myself out. Before the practice session winds down, it's 56 minutes have passed in this 1 hour practice session. There's another 4 minutes to go. Just going to have a quick run through the top 10 fastest times so far. Jasmine Jali has managed an amazing 128.316. He is in first position, followed by Teku Ershad with a 128.5 and Nigel Chua with another 128.5, just a thousandth of a second between them. And Freddie Ang is in fourth place, followed by Teku Jan, James Russell, Teku Ezan, Dominic Ang. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth are all URT cars, followed by Shami Azri, Sharon Norfordin, and Aaron Lim in 11th.
So we would see that the top 10 drivers are all within 6/10 of a second with one another, or make that 5/10. So I think it's a very small margin. Even though 5/10 is substantial, it's still really small if you do compare with the timings throughout the rest of the grid. So I think if drivers are able to exploit whatever exploits they can make out of, they would find themselves climbing the positions progressively if they're able to do so.
Absolutely, and this is a racetrack, even though it is quite short, it is a racetrack that you can overtake on. There's quite a few overtaking opportunities. The two that come to mind are the final corner, the Andretti hairpin, and if you're really brave, you could try the legendary Zanardi line through the corkscrew turn, but perhaps we'll see some of the drivers erring on the side of caution when it comes to that.
So this is Tengku Irshad, one of the iconic drivers on the grid. He's making his uphill run onto the corkscrew, and it's now going all the way down. So you don't exactly feel the full effects of the elevation changes when you're looking at this from the broadcast screen. But once you're in the cockpit, or even if it's in real life, I would imagine that the effects are kind of even more exacerbated. I would imagine that there are some things that you just can't exactly get a full replication of in sims. But with that said, it does pay a lot to get a good clean line through that corner.
Absolutely. Some of the things that have been said about the corkscrew, it feels like driving a car off the cliff, was one comment I've heard from some of the drivers that I've known to have gone over there and raced in Laguna Seca. The other one was compression at the bottom makes you feel like you have gained 300 kilos in a space of a quarter of a second, which doesn't sound very nice. But all of them agree that the lack of grip on the top half of the corkscrew and the massive amount of grip you gain at the bottom half of the corkscrew really does present an absolutely unique challenge in all of motorsports. You don't really see anything like it anywhere else. You get close with the dipper at Bathurst, but really it is an absolute jewel in the crown of this very, very nice circuit.
I guess I would imagine, I remember that we did go to Bathurst a couple of weeks ago. That was such a quite a brilliant run over there. And yeah, of course, I think the fact that you've got these tracks on the digital simulation services, I think it does allow for more of us motorsports enthusiasts to kind of just experience these tracks that would probably never be able to otherwise. So that was him making his way over the corkscrew moments ago. You can see that there were quite a lot of dirt, sand and gravel being kicked up onto the racetrack. And on iRacing, with the dynamic track surfaces, it does lead to a temporary loss in grip, if you do dig your wheels into the loose surfaces.
Absolutely. So we're going to have a short break. We'll be back with the rest of qualifying and the race. So do stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You join us for the qualifying session for the final round of the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship Season 2 in the Kia Optimas around this legendary Laguna Seca circuit. For those of you who've just joined us, my name is Max Palmer. I'm with our co-commentator Chan Wei Han.
Hi everyone, and yes, we are down to crunch time, as this is where drivers will fight to the finish for the bragging rights of the season. So, we've seen so many different personalities, fighting out different from race wins to season victories and stuff like that. And I think we've seen so many recurring names. Of course, we're now riding with Kalvinder Singh, who does have the. Oh no, this is Kalvinder Singh. I'm so sorry. We've gone to Tengku Janle, who has just set a qualifying lap time of 1:28.450. So, if we do have a look at the comparisons in differences in lap time during practice, the fastest lap time was 1:28.316 by Jayashree, and already we have a pole lap time of 1:28.307 by Saiful Arifin, which kind of sets him up all the way up there, in fact. So this is Shami Azri. We are riding with him. He's currently in 19th position. His lap time sets him down at 19th and 20th position with a 1:32.341. Of course, at this point, some drivers have already set their first lap times in, and they're all being dialed into the timing tower.
Absolutely, and you can see Saiful Arifin has managed to get the pole position with a 1:28.307 followed by Tukujan, Tukuishan and Afizul Jai. These are very, very fast lap times, even comparing to the warm-up race that was held previously where the pole time and only a couple of other drivers managed to get into the 1:28s. Could we see a 1:27 lap time around this track? That would be very close to the, I would say, the record for this track for and car accommodation.
So we've got a majority of the drivers who've already set their lap times already, at least for the top, for half the field. And we do have a fastest of a 1:28.144 by Jayashree. So he beats Saiful to it, and Jayashree has the provisional pole position, which is such a blistering lap time. So the drivers will probably have 2 more laps to go where they can set 2 additional lap times and try to best their previous lap time. So now we're with James Russell, who currently hasn't had a lap time set in yet. His practice lap time was 1:28.689. So that could well put him up around within the top 10, 11th of the grid, if he's able to kind of bring this pace around in qualifying.
Absolutely, and just another update to that top 5 position. Najib Chua has managed to split the difference between Jaswin Delhi and Saiful Arifin. And Freddie Ang has been the first driver to break into the 1:27. So 1:27.881. That is an absolutely flying time from the URT driver. Let's see what James Russell can do as a response there, climbing up through the hill. Let's see what he's managed to do for lap time. And it looks like he does a 1:28.540, so he wants to try and improve that, but right on the money there, Wei Hun, with that 10th place prediction.
There we go. But my prediction was 1:28.6, but he did a 1:28.5. So ultra performance by James Russell. Now this is Shamir Aizan, who set a 1:28.767, sets him down in 15th. Or up in 15th position rather. So this is quite a massive field. We have full house of 42 to 44 drivers, which is a real huge amount. So this is Shamir Aizan. We're still with him. We're still going to observe him as he takes his car through the corners. And this is a high-speed corner. This right-hander, it is deceptively fast. You would be tempted to kind of go on the brakes to take that right-hander, but it just so happens that the apex is late and you can actually carry quite a lot of speed. This, on the other hand, is one that you have to brake to take across. So of course you find that also these corners, at least for most of the corners, they are quite round. You're able to carry momentum through most of the corners. So for a car like the touring car, it's going to serve to its benefit, where you won't exactly be breaking momentum that much. Shamir Aizan a little bit late breaking into the not carousel, into the corkscrew. Sorry, I keep mixing that up.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And one of the classic corners along this track that I've always found to be very interesting is the final corner, because you learn a lot about the drivers here. Shamir Aizan, very smooth, very calm, but he does use quite a lot of track to go around that final corner there. A lot of the drivers like to straighten the car up quite massively through there, and some of the drivers like to just take a little bit longer period through the corner just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Afi Fadlan's now currently in 30th position. It'll be very interesting to see how high he can bring that car
He
up.
slowed down.
Tiguezan, meanwhile, he is on the end of his timed laps. Let's see what he's able to do in that URT machine. Across the line there, that puts him up into all the way up into 23rd position, 128.998. Believe it or not, that's still within 2 seconds of the guy up ahead, of the guys up at the front of the field there. So that just goes to show it's very, very tight in terms of lap time for all the drivers out there. Zainul Hazim now has a chance to try and push that car as hard as possible. Saif Arifin unable to improve on his lap time, but it looks like Ilham Halabi has managed to get up into second position, 127.896. So Ilham Halabi right next to Jazrin Jali. That's going to be the two championship contenders right next to each other on the grid.
So just look at Zainul Hazim wrestling his car around the corners. He's towards the other end of the grid. His lap time is 129.781, which is probably even faster than a lap time that I could ever set here. These guys are so fast. And he's going to make his way down the downhill section. So very much a case of the final sector being mostly downhill. It's all about trying to carry momentum and, not spinning out, especially if you're in these heavy cars, and comes upon this final left-hander. And what's worth noting is that the right, the fake grass on the right along the exit it actually kind of it's actually a 1x incident. If you do lay your tires on that in iRacing. And now we're with Arif Roslan, who's probably out for his likely a final qualifying lap. His lap time was 128.774, so he's going to probably look to best that lap time.
Absolutely, just having a quick look at some of the lap time records that's been set around here. The lap record officially is held by Helio Castroneves in a kart or a champ car rather, although Ricardo Zonta and Marc Genet have claimed faster lap times around there as well. But the interesting thing here, reading through, Randy Pops has the lap record for a production car, the 2019 McLaren Senna, a 127.62. So these guys are 0.2 of a second off a 900 horsepower hypercar in terms of lap time. Isn't that just incredible?
Wow. And to think of it, the GT3s will in fact do faster lap times around here with like 2/3 or even half the horsepower. So this is Arif Roslan. He's going to come along the start finish line, and is he going to best his previous lap time? It would appear that he had not been able to do so, so he retains 19th position. So we're now going to have a look at Freddie Ang, who's in fact broken the 127.9 barrier to go down to 127.881, so that's a blistering lap time. But is he going to go even faster as he comes around the start finish line this time? He does not, unfortunately, and he still retains his pole position, of course, with 127.881.
Absolutely, we're seeing some of the drivers now coming back into the pits. Perhaps quite a few of them have indeed done their 4 laps. 12 minutes have passed. There's only 3 minutes left. There's enough time for Azrael here to maybe do 2 laps. For a lot of the other drivers, they'll only really have time for 1 more lap. So it's absolutely critical for them to try and finish this lap on a high there. So it looks like Azrael very wide going into the hairpin. That's not going to do his chances of a lap time any good. Meanwhile, further back we see Kelvin T, Arif Roslan and Fairuz Fadzil on their way to the finish line. Let's see what Kelvin T has managed to do on our screens. It's 130.9. He has not improved his time. Arif Roslan is about to come across the line himself, but also falls just a little bit short there, and Farouz Fadzil is already off the pace there. So perhaps we've seen the top 5 sort of set in, well, perhaps not set in stone, but definitely firmed up just a little bit there. And for those of you who just joined us, the top 5 positions: Freddie Ang, Ilham Labi, Jazrin Jal, James Russell, and Nigel Chua. Quite a few different drivers up there. Perhaps some surprising names up in the top 10 positions right now.
Yeah, I imagine so. But of course, we're coming down towards the final couple of minutes of the qualifying session, so it does mean that drivers, I think many of the drivers, in fact most of them, have already completed 4 laps. So we've still got 2 or 3 more drivers who are still out there doing that going through their final corners. So this is Jasri Junos, who's going to come across the start-finish line. He had a previous lap time of 1:31.608. He's going to come around with a lap time that unfortunately does not allow him to best his previous performance, so he retains his position.
Yes, and we can see there's another couple of
Okay,
drivers.
quick question. If they were to be black flag during qualifying, will they be able to race?
Oh yes, you would be able to. It's just that the black flag kind of invalidates that qualifying attempt. Race is still possible.
Okay, so it will be reset, right, for the race only, right? Because I've got some messages here. They've got black flag for no
I
reason.
think sometimes it's because during qualifying you know if you do kind of crash, or if you stop your car for too long, that does kind of trigger the black flag. It's called it's the qualifying scrutiny, I think.
Yeah.
It's something quite recent that the iRacing introduced.
So
Let
that
me
is a
clear
very,
them up.
will allow them to head back out on the racetrack there. It's probably because that when they're going to abort a lap, they have to stop on the side of the road there, and perhaps they're taking just a little bit too long. But that is the qualifying session over and done with, and as the grid begins to form up on the exit of Rainy Curve on the way down to the penultimate corner there, we'll have a quick look at the grid, and it looks to me like Freddie Ang is on pole position, although he's yet to load in, followed by Ilham Labi, Jazrin Jali, James Russell very high up in terms of his qualifying pace, Nigel Chua as well, and Saifa Arifin with Tengku Jan in 7th, Asli in 8th, Iman Danish in 9th, and Afizul Jai in 10th place. So that's going to be very interesting indeed for the race. A few unfamiliar faces there, but the championship battlers are 2nd and 3rd on the grid, but Freddie Ang with an amazing time of 1:27.881 is in pole position for Team URT Black. Ilham Halabi is 2nd. He has the lead of the championship, but only by 3 points from the man in 3rd place, Jazrin Jali. That's going to be a very explosive start to the race for those guys. James Russell doing very well for himself to get up into 4th place, followed by Nigel Chua in 5th. Saiful Arifin in 6th, Tengku Jan Lay in 7th, Asli Dali in 8th, Iman Danish doing very well for himself to get up to 9th place, and Afizul Jai all the way up in 10th position.
We'll just go through the 2nd and 3rd pages quickly, and looks like very competitive 1 to 9 as this finale of season 2. So we hope it's all going to be good. And since there's 43 starters today, all of them are lined up. They're waiting for Jay Chong, I think, for the last one.
And would you just look at that? The top 40 cars are within 2 seconds of each other. Absolutely incredible.
Drivers are now going to begin what will be the final pace lap of the season. Of course, not a complete lap, but just a sub lap.
Oh, look at the safety car.
That Porsche does his usual insane entry into the pit lane. It looks like Freddie Ang has the jump on the green. Let's have a quick look at those lights. The red lights go on as soon as he crosses that finish line. The race is officially on. The green flag start from Freddie Ang, who has managed to make a massive jump up into the lead of the race. Ilham Halabi is in second, but James Russell has managed to get up into third position. Meanwhile, there is absolute chaos at the entry of Andrade Curve there. One driver stopped, and it's amazing to see that there's no accidents there, but there's a couple of incidents on the exit. Big crash there between one of the outhouse cars and the Android King car, and that's really caused quite a bit of a stir down on the run into turn 2, and that looks like it's going to be a yellow flag. Wow.
Wow, what a start. And of course, the yellow flag had been thrown out in time, and this does offer drivers the opportunity to kind of get back on their feet once again and catch up with the rest of the grid, at least for the drivers who were involved in the incident. So we have a look at the replay and have a look at what exactly happened. So it did so happen that we had one of the auto house cars stop there, and it was just a matter of one car going a little bit too quickly along the outside of the exit, and it started off a chain reaction of contacts that led to him being spun up in the air, and that just kind of led to so many cars being involved in the incident. So I would imagine that more drivers will have to either start towing or going into the pits for their repairs in a moment.
Absolutely, and this has been a bit of a classic around Laguna Seca. Whenever we've used it as a championship deciding track, it really has come across as being a very exciting place to have the race indeed. And I wouldn't have thought that the exit from the Andretti hairpin coming up into the second turn would have been that big of a problem, but apparently the sides of the track there just a little bit dirty, and from what I understand from some of the drivers' comments, since the last time we've raced here, they've remodeled the track ever so slightly in terms of surface grip. So now they are a little bit more accurate in terms of the fact that Laguna Seca has a very unique problem in motorsports, in that the sand that they use for the sand traps, they don't have gravel traps here, they have sand traps, and the surrounding hills are also made out of sandstone, and that can also blow across the track there. So you can see in a lot of places the track looks very, very dirty indeed, and perhaps that might have taken a couple of the drivers out by surprise.
Of course, with the dynamic track surfaces that you see on iRacing, it does mean that sometimes drivers can find their cars loose quite easily with the gravel on the road. So the grid has been kind of reshuffled slightly. You've got some cars who've managed to gain the position, some cars who've lost the position. So at this point, it's still Freddie Young and Ilham Halabi who's in first and second, but of course James Russell gained a position and Jayasrin dropped a position as a result of I guess overtakes that took place right before the yellow flag. So it's worth noting that the yellow flag happened just 3-4 corners after the green flag, so drivers are still kind of quite closely, I guess the positions are not changed that much.
Indeed, and just a quick way to see some of the movers and shakers up the grid there. It looks like Zainal Hazem has to go into the pits. Perhaps he's going in for a repair, but James Russell managing to jump ahead of Jaswin Jali to move himself up to 4th position. Saiful Arifin has managed to get past Nigel Chua as well, and there's a few more movers and shakers up and down the grid there, but a very, very competitive start from all the drivers. Freddie absolutely managed to get that rolling start just right. Of course, for those of you who don't quite know what tricks are to rolling starts and rolling restarts, as soon as that Porsche goes off the track, the lead driver has control of the pace of the race, and what you can do is you can either slow the cars down a little bit, or you can speed up a little bit and try and build a bit of a gap before you cross that start-finish line. So Freddie Ang there, he decided to try and drop all the cars, go as quickly as possible out of the final corner, and it looked to have really gained him quite a bit of a lead, but unfortunately with all the chaos behind him, he now has to do that all over again.
Let's see back what happened there.
So you can see there Freddie Ang had a fantastic run, and quite a few of the drivers were swapping paint all up and down the leaderboard there. There's quite a lot of barging around through the final corners as we look at the replay here. and we're looking from Calvin Howe's point of view. Now, the first incident happens in the entry for this corner here, as one of the drivers had to slow down quite a lot in order to try and avoid an incident. And while that's happening, the other incident at the exit of the corner has happened, and that has caused a chain reaction, as Rehan described quite well in the previous look back there. So it's going to be very difficult, especially for Calvin Ha, who appears to have lost just a few places there, but Freddie Young still in the lead of the race.
So you can see the safety car cutting the exit of the corkscrew. That's really interesting. So of course Freddie leads the most of the field down. So the lights are still on the safety car, so that means that the pace, this safety car pace lap will go on for likely one additional lap. The safety car has not made its way in. So once the lights are off, it means that the pace car will go in towards the end of that lap. So, unfortunately, with this being a time-limited race, these yellow flag laps are counted within the 45-minute mark. So it does mean that drivers will have less green flag time. But what that also means is that drivers will be they'll be tempted to push their cars ever so slightly harder, as they know that the green flag race times do mean that they'll burn less fuel and the tires will wear out less.
Absolutely, and the other thing that's going to change is, of course, their strategy. Now, pretty much everyone now will be forced onto a late one-stop strategy. That means they're going to be pitting quite late throughout the race here, due to the fact that they'll be saving quite a bit of fuel through there. So this is going to be very interesting indeed to see. It looks like the strategy game, it's going to be very difficult to try and do anything special through the strategy, but it's still going to play a bit of a part, whether you can pit a lap early or a lap later compared to the leaders. That might still take a little bit of an advantage, but pretty much all of their strategy has to be rethought. They have to rethink the strategies when it comes to the midpoint of the race, now that we've saved all this time behind the safety car. Lap 4 of the race, and it looks like this might be, just visually looking at the queue of cars going through the corner there, car number 41 has caught up with the tail end of the queue there, and it looks like this might be, if we're lucky, the last lap on the safety car.
Yeah, the lights of the safety car is turned off, so it might be the last one. One to go.
So it does mean that the effective race time has kind of had 9 minutes taken away from the race. Of course, if we don't include the sprint that we had right before yellow flag during the green flag conditions earlier on. So Freddie's building a bit of a gap behind the safety car, and he's decided to floor it, as he is going to lead the field back to green flag conditions. It is racing again as the yellow flag dies out as we go green flag, and Freddie leads the field very nicely. That he's managed to kind of in fact expand the whole grid very well instead of holding off his race start. So he leads Ilham and James into turn 1, but of course the battle is ensuing towards the positions 4, 5 and 6, and especially at this point. So Jokvan has made the move up to 12th from 13th, and we've also got some overtaking moves that are taking place along the Andretti hairpin. So very good driving by these drivers at this point. The cars are now a little more spread out apart as compared to just now, and we've got some moves at various different parts. So, and also a car that's gone a little bit loose there as he dipped a bit of the gravel. And now we're back onto live pictures with our race leader, Freddie Young.
And it looks like this time Ilham Halabi and James Russell a little bit more wide than the first time, but Freddie is pushing that car as hard as possible. He did the same thing that he did through the original start of the race. He used the same tactic in the restart, backed the field up and then tried to go for it, but it looks like Ilham and James Russell were wise to it, and they managed to break away just a little bit from Jazrin Jali and Saiful Arifin further behind. The gaps are still very, very close though, so it's going to be very, very challenging for a lot of these drivers right now. But Ilham Halabi, he is now in the position he's now following Freddie Ang. And as we know, as Ilham Halabi's fans know, Ilham likes to sit behind the driver he's battling with for quite a few laps and try and put a lot of pressure on the car in front. He's sort of a little bit of an intimidator type racing driver, so it's going to be very challenging for Freddie to try and keep his focus while you have a man of the caliber of Ilham Plabi behind him. But of course, James Russell is also behind to try and, if anything, bring moral support, if not a little bit of pressure himself onto Ilham.
So they're starting to form a little bit of a breakaway, at least from James Russell onwards. So the top three cars are now starting to push themselves ever so slightly further ahead of everyone else. Of course, slightly would probably mean like 1 or 2 additional tenths of a second of advantage that they are having ahead of everyone. Nigel Chua seems to have made a mistake somewhere and he's gone back to the pits, which means that Freddie is still leading. Of course, not much changes towards throughout the rest of the grid, and Freddie now leads the rest of the field into the corkscrew.
Yes, that's a bit of a shame for Nigel Chua. He had a lot of pace in that particular Kia Optima, so to see him having to go into the pits there, that's going to be a real blow for his race pace. Meanwhile, Ilham Plabi, he is shown to be in third place, but as soon as he crosses the finish line, it will be first and second, Freddie to Ilham, and James Russell further behind. The cars are beginning to stretch out just a little bit, and in fact the top three have a little bit of a gap between themselves and the chasing pack, and it looks like we're going to start to get into a little bit of a rhythm. But that isn't to say that there's not going to be battles. There's no battles forming at the front of the field there, but you can just have a look through the leaderboard there. Tikujan, Iman Danish and Afizul Jai in 6th, 7th and 8th. That looks like it's going to be a very exciting battle indeed.
Sure, exciting indeed, as Ilham is still in second. He's kind of gotten a bit of an advantage ahead of James Russell at this point, so he's managed to stack some time in his favor. So of course they are now a fair bit spread apart. So the average gap between these drivers are around 0.8 of a second from first, second and third. Now of course from James Russell onwards, he has an additional second of a gap ahead of Jaiswin behind him.
Absolutely. So as the front of the field begins to spread out a little bit, looks like the classic midfield battle is beginning to coalesce a little bit. Saiful Arifin is just behind Jasmine Jali, but he also has Tikujan behind him. But right behind Tikujan is Iman Danish, definitely one of the standouts of this season. A very, very quick driver, very young driver, still in his teenage years, and to be doing very well, handling the pressure and pushing these cars as hard as he is definitely a sign of very good talent indeed. But having a look at this entire battle, it looks like it's going to be a real focal point in the race.
So we're having a look at some of the other cars who have in fact begun to form some bunches of battles throughout, I guess, the front mid section of the pack. This is Iman Danish. He's in 7th position, and of course the cars around him are all within the I think they'll have the consistent pace as well. So the average gap that these drivers have with one another would be approximately 3 to 6 tenths of a second, so they are all rather bunched up very, very nicely. So this is, if this goes on, they could see themselves in a freight train of various cars as they take the next few corners. Iman Danish takes the corkscrew, and as do the cars behind him. And of course, when you do take the entry of that corner, you do tend to lock up ever so slightly.
Absolutely, you can see the cars beginning to Constantino a little bit through there. Further back, the Lloyd Lachlan, who won our first practice session all the way back in Tuesday. He is having quite a bit of fun right there in 20th position. He's chasing down, seeing both very, very talented drivers trying to climb their way up the leaderboard there, and they've also got Nazmi Mazli up ahead there. So this looks like it's going to be a very, very challenging battle for all of these drivers. Lloyd, however, has managed to gain 7 positions through the 2 restarts there, so that just goes to show that he has just that, I suppose, that talent for being able to find his way through a field And right now he's putting a lot of pressure on that man. And it looks like they're going to go side by side through the Andretti hairpin. They touch just ever so slightly, but they managed to get through. That is absolutely amazing driving from all involved there. Very, very close to each other there. And it looks like Lloyd Loughlin managed to make that overtaking maneuver work on Melvin, but I'm pretty sure Ovidijit is going to try and push his hardest in order to try and get back to Lloyd.
Very close battling indeed. Great driving by Lloyd Loughlin to make that move ahead of Melvin Ajit. And he's now coming upon this left-hander. Now, of course, this one corner, right, it's quite easy to sometimes misjudge your corner effects or braking point. And at a track like this, especially at that corner where the exit is off camber, you can lose your car. So very much so, the second sector of Laguna Seca isn't exactly an easy one. It does require you to be on top of the car towards the end of the corkscrew, and they're now coming down this section of the circuit where they rely more on momentum, and trying to guide the car's weight down this part as opposed to fully relying on their own engine power. Of course, with these cars being slightly underpowered as compared to some of the other cars with better power to weight ratio, downhill sections do have an effect of altering the performance of these cars as they take the downhill sections. So Shahril Norafuddin and Lloyd Loughlin, as they make their way around the hairpin. Loughlin coming under some pressure from Nazmi Masli, who's behind him.
Absolutely, and I've just written that down on a piece of paper. I was going to 20 next to Lloyd's name, but he's now up to 18th place, so that was 2 positions gained through the course of a single lap. Well done there from Lloyd Loughlin, who's now gained 9 positions from his starting place. Very, very interesting indeed. But Melvin, Kelvin T, Eddie Adrian, and Afif Fadlan are quite a different battle, just a little bit further behind. This entire group is, as I like to call it, the classic midfield battle that we always enjoy throughout the course of the AIMC seasons, through season 1 and season 2. It's absolutely spectacular stuff watching these guys battle wheel to wheel with each other, and the standard of sportsmanship and racecraft that's been shown throughout has been absolutely a joy to watch.
And it's so wonderful as we have a look at Loughlin trying to perhaps do a can opener on Shahril Norafuddin. He does so, and he's going to go inside through the final hairpin, but is he going to be able to hold on to his yet another position that he's gained? He's up to 17th now. He's going to have to hold on to it as Shahril Norafuddin now tries to defend and tries hard to keep from himself from losing positions. So Shahril does have Nazmi Masli hot on his rear bumper. An overtaking move might ensue any moment soon. But Lloyd has has made his way up to 17th, and he is in fact 10 positions from where he began from in 27th.
That's pretty unbelievable stuff indeed. And it just goes to show that Lloyd Loughlin might be a driver to watch out for in the upcoming seasons of AIMC, being able to scythe his way through the field pretty much. Really just go to show that there's quite a bit of talent down there back. Meanwhile, there is another battle happening right now. That's Tunku Jan up ahead of Saiful Arifin, and Iman Danish is also in with a chance of trying to make a position work here. So this 3-way battle for 5th place is looking like it's going to be a very exciting battle indeed. So let's see what these guys can do coming up to the start-finish straight, and it looks like Saiful Arifin might be close enough to try and do something. There isn't really too many places where you can try and slipstream someone, but the start and finish straight really is one of those locations where you can try a move, and it looks like Tunku Jan is just a little bit quicker on the front straightaway there. But Iman Danish again putting both drivers under a lot of pressure, and now Afizul Jai also getting a little bit close for comfort.
Yep, so Tunku Janlei coming under some pressure from Saiful Arifin. Of course, we are used to seeing Saiful fighting out all the way up at the pointy end of the grid. So he's now in 6th position, so you can see that he's kind of holding it back a little bit. He did so, he braked a little earlier along the corner entry, and Saiful is probably going to find an opportunity to attack any moment within the next couple of moments. So they're now going on the ascent to the corkscrew, an uphill section where it's all about the engine power, and sometimes a bit of slipstream will go a long way. And we're now down to the corkscrew, and it would appear that, I think that there was no intention to overtake. Of course, overtaking along the corkscrew isn't exactly the safest of maneuvers. And Tengku Janle continues leading Saiful Arifin through the final sectors.
Perhaps just a bit of a scare tactic from Saiful Arifin to try and wake up Tengku Janle a little bit there. Perhaps you're being a little bit charitable when you say that there might be an overtaking maneuver that's a bit risky at corkscrew. To me, it just looks like almost absolute suicide. I remember watching the kart finale as a very young kid, way back in the day, when Alex Zanardi tried to overtake Michael Andretti, I believe it was, at the final lap at the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Let's just say both cars were off the road for part of that overtaking maneuver, and I'm amazed that both drivers finished the race after that point there. So if someone could do it, well, I just really have to tip my hat to them.
Of course, wonders can happen, and more so it can also happen in the sim world as it does happen in the real world. And we're still with Eddie Adrian, and I think it's just something about the paint scheme that the Padawan guys have. It's something about the styling of this paint scheme that just gets me every time I see it. It's like a World War II plane that's got its wings disassembled and it's got 2 additional wheels attached onto its under bottom, and it's suddenly become a racing Kia.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it was the design was done from a X-wing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask my director there. I got it wrong twice.
10 points.
Yeah. So yeah, hence the Padawan.
Okay, this is the mid-train. We're calling this the mid-train.
Yeah, and the mid-train is getting longer and longer, and all these cars have an opportunity to try and overtake each other. So there's going to be quite a few good battles in the course of this race. Of course, we still have that Best Battle Award, so get your pieces of paper out, and we'll try and review that in the last post-race show. Tengku Izan is into the pits, minute 22, so that is going to be the first of the pit lane crew.
Okay,
lap
since
14.
What we observed from our test races and our warm-up race, some of them extended up to 28 minutes of racing. So what should we expect here today, Matt?
It looks like Tengku Izan has come in pretty much on the dot, but the interesting thing is I suspect there's going to be a lot of people who are going to go for that 26-minute pit stop, 28-minute pit stop, lap 16, lap 17, around that point. Because we had those 4 laps under caution, it looks like a lot of these guys might be able to push or extend their stints just a little bit longer. So we might see quite a few drivers begin to start pitting in the next couple of laps, but it looks like Tengku Izan's going in there early in order to try and get himself up onto race pace once everyone else begins to pit. So it's a risky strategy, but it might be a smart one from Tengku Izan.
So JJ's went in. So this is the JJ strategy.
15 and it's JJ.
Alright, so it's probably going to save. Oh, sorry, Max. I was just saying it was probably going to save on his perhaps a refueling time, because right now, if he does have more balanced fuel on his car, it does mean that he can afford to fuel a little bit less, spend a little bit less time. So we're now having a look at a replay with Javier Alvarez and another car. Oh, contact as it go in to the corkscrew, and this kind of spelled the end for him as he went, up in the air after colliding into the wall. And yeah, that car there, you can see iRacing in effect there, just popped out of the wall like that.
Absolutely, that was Javier Alvarez and I believe it was Michael Haffel that ended up in the wall there. And very unfortunate, but that does happen quite often, and that was why I sort of said that it almost suicide to try and ride too wide coming into the corkscrew section there, because what a lot of drivers don't know, if you have a very good look through the entry into the corkscrew, the road drops away if you're on the left-hand side as well. So that could be a very challenging place to try and drive 2 cars through. And unfortunately, Javier just had a wheel dip into the dirt on the side of the road there, and unfortunately He was a passenger from that point on. Very, very unfortunate indeed. Ilham Labi now in the pits at the end of lap 15.
And James also went in pits. And the top 4, the top 5, top 6.
Yep, 6 drivers in, and it looks like the rush is happening on lap 16.
So we're left with Freddie Ang. He's about to meet Jasri in the front back marker.
That appears to be the case there. Lloyd has gone into the pits. No, he hasn't. So Lloyd Lachlan moves up, Fies will move up, Nasmi will move up. Of course, this will be temporary. Just waiting for all these guys to make their own pit stops right now. But it's very interesting to see that all those drivers came in around the 25-minute mark.
Okay, next up from Freddie is 40 seconds away, 13 seconds away is Shami Azri. So what he did last night for the warm-up race was extended his first stint of going up to 28 minutes.
Absolutely.
Is he going to do it again today?
I suspect Shami Azri will try and keep that car out for as long as possible, because now, in terms of track positions, he is in effectively second place. And we know he can push the car all the way to the 28-minute mark through green flag running. I'll be interested to see how long he can keep that car out.
Okay, Freddie just went
right now.
Whoa!
And it looks like Freddie has managed to overtake a car in the pit lane. That's a little bit cheeky, but we do see that happen on occasions there. So that must have taken the Android King driver there a little bit by surprise. So Freddie has gone in on the end of lap 16 into lap 17 for Freddie Ang, and that means Shami Azri is now in the effective of the race. How long can he stay out there? That is going to be the critical question for both Shami Azri and Afizul Jai, who's right behind him. Could this be the JJ strategy being transferred over to Shami Azri?
So of course at this point where the pit party begins, and of course we're coming towards the midpoint of the pit window, it does mean that positions will all be shuffled. So of course currently the drivers in the top 13 as well as the 15th place, they've yet to make their pit stops. So you could very much be within the next couple of moments that they might make their pit stops for their fuel stop.
Absolutely. Again, how long can Shami Azri stay out there? This could be an absolutely make or break moment for Shami, because we know he can do a long first stint. The trouble is, how much time will he lose to try and extend it? He is lapping in a 132.1, which is pretty much on pace for Shami Azri, but how long can he keep that car out there, and how much of an advantage is he going to be able to gain? Of course, right now he is in traffic. That could be a double-edged sword for Shami Azri, and he goes into the pits. He decides he can't put up with the traffic. He is going to go into the pits, and Afizul Jai is going to follow him in. So that's going to be the last two of our front runners who have gone into the pits right now. And Chok Fan Pang is now in the lead of the race, and still he has yet to pit. And Shami Aizan also has yet to pit as well. So that's going to be very, very interesting indeed in terms of pit lane strategy. These two drivers have now eclipsed Shami Azri's attempts at going to 28 minutes. Let's see how long they can stay out.
So lead changes once again, but of course this is a sign of the drivers all going into the pits at this point. So more and more drivers are in the pits, 6, 7, 8 cars in the pits at one time at this point. So it means that the drivers who have already pitted, they are regaining a couple of their positions. So we are with Malvinderjit Singh, who sits currently in 5th, and he will also be due. His pit stop will also be due in a couple of moments.
Absolutely, and Melvin is really putting a lot of pressure on Kelvin T, who's really regaled us with quite a lot of tales from behind the wheel throughout the course of the post-race shows. And it looks like he might have a very action-packed post-race show to report to on Tuesday. And it looks like he has a lot of pressure from Malvinderjit right behind him, and also a lot of pressure from Afiq Fadlan as well. So let's see what these guys are able to do as Chok Fan Pang has gone into the pits. So Chauffeur Pang and Shami Aizan has gone in on lap 18 into lap 19. So having scribbled all of these out there, the early stopper was Teguh Aizan, lap 14, and now Pang, Shami and Nazmi and quite a few of the other drivers are pitting in lap 18. So that's been a very, very wide pit lane window for a lot of these drivers. There's only 15 minutes left in the race, so a lot of these drivers will have a very, very fresh set of tires and a nice full tank of fuel in order to try and go for it. This might be a very busy end to the race.
Yep, so most drivers are in or have already done their pit stop. So I think almost everyone has have made their pits already at this time. So race lead returns to Jaisrin Jali as he leads Ilham Halabi. Of course, Ilham is 4 seconds behind Jaisrin, so there is quite a lot of ground that Ilham has to cover as he tries to perhaps come into attacking distance with Jaisrin once again. So we are now towards the final third of the race, this 45-minute long race. And although we've not enjoyed as much green flag time as drivers might have liked, I think I would imagine that the yellow flag did allow the drivers some more time to kind of ease into the rhythm of the race.
And my quick back of the cigarette packet calculations shows me that Jaisrin Jali and Ilham Halabi were on the best strategy. So it looks like throughout the course of the race, lap 15 and lap 16 was around the ideal time to try and make that overtake, that pit work. A lot of the drivers were trying to extend it. I thought that might have worked a lot better for a lot of the guys, but unfortunately, when everyone has the same idea as you do, it could lead to a very, very difficult problem when it comes to traffic out there on the track. But Jaisrin Jali is now in the lead and Ilham Halabi is in second position. This means that if Jaisrin maintains this position, he wins the championship. If Ilham Halabi can find a way past Jaisrin Jali, Ilham Halabi will win the championship. It's that close, ladies and gentlemen. The fight for the win of the race is going to determine who is going to win Season 2 of the Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship. This is building up to be a very exciting end to the race.
Ilham's closing in quite fast. His gap is closing to almost a second. So that will be a sign of championship decision there.
Absolutely, this might be the critical moment in the championship. If Jaisrin Jali is beginning to lose, and he's losing a lot of time there, so he's just trying to save fuel. From my notes here, Jaisrin Jali pitted in lap 15 and Ilham Halabi pitted after him. So perhaps Ilham Halabi has a little bit more confidence in his tyres and his fuel load. Jaisrin Jali has to back off a little bit. This is going to be an absolutely entertaining, real knockdown, drag-out fight towards the end of the race. 33 minutes have passed, 45 minutes is the length of the race. This is going to be a very, very exciting last 12 minutes or so of the race. This is going to be absolutely amazing as they come on to the start-finish straight, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The title fight. Remember, guys, ladies and gentlemen, this is the title fight, not just the fight for the win of the final round. So, they have everything on the line. A whole season of racing, of fighting hard will go down the wire for both Jaisrin Jali and Ilham Halabi. So we have a quick look away from the front runners and onto a replay. So we have a look at Shami Aizan, who did go on too wide into carousel, and that was him. He went to contact with the Uncle Racing car, but they still seem to have managed to hold on to the position, and a secondary contact, and that was enough to kind of send these the sequence of things off.
Absolutely, and that's a very unfortunate incident through there, and it's almost pathetic. Perhaps my commentator's curse is working in strange ways. I did warn against driving side by side coming into the corkscrew, and again that's case number 2 of where not to overtake around Laguna Seca.
So we're just going to be staying with them for the next couple of moments, because this is going to determine night and day for both Jaisrin and Ilham. So Ilham is, he's been closing his gap lap after lap. So from 4 seconds, couple of laps ago, he's down to 0.5 of a second at this point. So Jaistrain will be hard pressed to defend his position because this will mean everything. Everything in the sense that it does mean the title championship to him, and Ilham, is just kind of gaining on him every moment as we speak. So these two drivers, they are clear of the other fast guy known as Saiful Arifin. He's 7 odd seconds behind, so I would imagine that Ilham doesn't exactly have too much of a threat coming from behind. But I think any opportunity that Ilham is able to kind of set his eyes on, maybe an opening for him to lunge ahead of Jaistrain, he will go for it.
Absolutely, and it's half a second between these two drivers. 10 minutes to go in the race, so that's going to be a 7 or 8 laps out from the finish, I would suspect. And it looks like Jazrin Jali is going to be under a lot of pressure. And remember what I said at the top of the race, Ilham Halabi likes to put a lot of pressure on the driver up ahead. He's not going to be the kind of driver that's going to make an overtaking maneuver work at the first possible opportunity. He's going to sit there and try and make Jazrin Jali have a mistake. That's the intimidator driving style, sort of Dale Earnhardt style driving that Ilham Halabi likes to do. He likes to follow the driver up ahead and try and learn the moves of Jazrin Jali. So right now Jazrin Jali has to try and almost rip that rear view mirror out of the car and focus on what's ahead of him, push the car as hard as possible. But right now it looks like Ilham Halabi is going to go side by side around the final. That was a mistake from Jazrin Jali, who's braked a little bit late. They're going to go side by side up the hill, and let's see who is going to take that position coming down into the Andrade hairpin. Over the crest, that's an absolutely blind crest, and it looks like Ilham might be able to make it. This is for the championship, ladies and gentlemen. Ilham Halabi has gone to the lead. So Ilham's into the lead, and Jazrin Jali has moved down into second place. Now the hunter has become the hunted. Will Ilham Halabi be able to drive away from Jazrin, or will Jazrin be able to fight back? This is going to be a critical juncture throughout the course of the championship fight, and that may have been the move that has sealed the title for Ilham.
What a fantastic move by Ilham to go for the race lead at this point. And of course, we've got 6 to 7 minutes to go towards the end of the race to when the checker flag will wave. So now it's all about how composed Ilham can be. How well can he be on top of his car to kind of stick to this, to kind of keep his lead going throughout the remaining moments of the race. So he has to keep everything well together. He's going to handle his car well through the downhill sections over here on the final upon the final sector, and it's going to be Jaistrain's turn to put pressure on Ilham. So is Jaistrain able to perhaps come up with some intimidator strategies that Ilham might have thought of, might have tried earlier on? Is he going to kind of return the favor? Is he going to pull maybe some tricks up his sleeves? And of course, we've also got some lap traffic in the way, which might throw a spanner into things.
Absolutely, definitely. Jazrin Jali could try and use the traffic that's going to come up ahead to his advantage. They are 11 seconds away from Azrael, who's in 33rd position. So that's quite a ways to go, but it is possible that Ilham will catch Azrael towards the end of the race, and that could be critical. So right now Jazrin Jali is on the back foot, but he can try and up his pace, especially if he's confident now that he has enough fuel to try and drive to the end of the race. But as it stands right now, Ilham Halabi definitely does have the high ground. He has the advantage. The key thing is going to be the traffic situation. As we see, Tukujan has gone into the pits. Six minutes to go in this battle. Who is it going to be? It looks like Ilham is beginning to pull away from JJ. This might have sorted it out. The Todak Motorsports guys are also fighting with Outer House in terms of the championship. This could be a critical move for them, especially with Saiful Arifin in 4th position.
Let's see the gap right now in points is 3 points difference. So if JJ was to finish second, he still wins, I think.
Yeah.
Only 2 points difference.
Only 2 points between the the two drivers, right?
This
So
one-
Ilham
this-
Halabi has to
yeah.
stay in the first two positions.
Yeah. So
Jezrin Jali has to win the
yeah.
race.
If JJ will be dropped to third, he will lose his championship title.
That's for sure. So that is going to be the math that everyone is looking at right now. As it stands, Ilham Halabi will be able to win the championship.
Meanwhile, let's go see what's going on back here.
Shami Azri battling alongside quite a few of the other drivers there. That's Freddie Ang and Chok Fon Pan right now, sort of a rear guard against this Outhouse FCR machine. And again, Azri is part of that Outhouse team trying to move all their cars as high up as possible for the team championship as well. But the URT guys are putting a lot of pressure on Shami Azri. Looks like Freddie Ang might be able to catch them, especially with a slower car up ahead. So this could be very, very interesting indeed. That's Tiku Irshad, who's slowly dialing back the pace just a little bit. He has lost contact with James Russell up in fourth place. Now Tiku Irshad's going to have to look very, very carefully behind him for Azri, Freddie, Roslan and Pang as well. But it looks like Roslan and Pang have dropped quite a lot of time there. So it looks like Shami Azri and Freddie Ang is going to be the drivers that are going to be battling for fifth position alongside Tiku Irshad. This might be a very exciting end to the race for these three drivers indeed.
Let's go back
So
to
the clock is down as we get a replay.
Replay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Let's just gonna go through what happened to the mid pack, and let's go over to Shame. He's currently battling out with Izan. Tuku Izan.
We're at 11th position with Shabir Aizan. He's coming under pressure from Wiki, but more importantly, he's putting pressure on Tengku Izan, who's up there in 10th. Now, of course, the 10th place car being the Uncle Racing team. I always like that paint scheme, very striking. A bit of aero damage that he might have, and Shamir Aizan, he's just trying hard to make the final few minutes work for him. So he's gained 7 positions. He might be able to get his 8th position to move up to 10th as he makes his way around that left hander. So good move. He digs along the inside of Tengku Izan Lane, and he's made the move work. He's now up to 10th position, and we'll see if he's going to be able to hold on to this. He goes a little bit out wide. He's going to lose. He's probably going to go side by side with Izan, and this is going to be him returning that position back to Tengku Izan. He's back down to 11th, and he's making his way down the corkscrew. So a couple more corners for him to perhaps try to go for overtaking moves.
Okay, let's go back to JJ. He's trying to gain up for the last 2 minutes.
And it looks like JJ has caught up with Ilham Halabi. So that is very interesting indeed. Has Ilham begun to come into fuel consumption issues? 43 minutes have passed in the 45-minute race. He needs that car to carry on for about another lap. And Jezri Jelly has gained quite a lot of pace indeed, and it looks like he's gone past a few of the back markers there. That might have been the reason why Ilham has dropped back a little bit. So this could be very, very critical indeed. Now, if Ilham finishes second, there might still be a chance for him to win the race. But Jezrin Jali has to win the race, and he has to hope that Saiful Arifin overtakes Ilham Halabi as well. So it looks like it's going to be a very desperate situation for Jezrin in order to try and win the championship. But Ilham Halabi, he is still in the lead, and it looks like he's able to start building that gap up again. 1 more minute to go before the end of the race. It looks like this is going to be the white flag lap. As they come across the line here, they won't be able to get it back in time before the end of the race. So this is the final lap of the race, lap 28. It looks like it's going to be a very, very exciting run indeed. Tiku Irshad comes to the pits as he ran out fuel.
That's unfortunate.
It looks like Shami Azri is also back. It looks like Freddie Ang has slowed down just a little bit as well. Shami Azri is now within sight of Freddie Ang, and looks like Freddie's going very slowly indeed. Has Freddie got enough fuel to try and finish the race up in fifth place? I do apologize. That could be a lot. There could be a lot of drivers out there right now who are driving with one eye on the road and the other 3 or 4 eyes staring at that fuel gauge.
Very much so, but of course we've already passed the 45-minute mark, so the checker flag should come out. It should be around the corner already. So we're back with Ilham, and this is going to be a very happy driver. He's managed to fend off Jayashree over the last couple of minutes where he did take the race lead away from Jayashree just moments ago. So it's going to perhaps make that 1.5 seconds of an advantage. It's going to make that stand, and as he comes along the second to last corner and possibly the final corner, it's going to be checkered flag, and the race win will go to Ilham Halabi as Jayashree comes home in second place, and Saiful Arifin will return home in third.
And that means that provisionally, of course, we are yet to finalize the results. That will come during the post-race show, but provisionally, Ilham Halabi has won the championship for Season 2, followed by Jazrin Jali in second place. So close, 1.4 seconds was
Are you sure, Matt? Did you count the... Let's see, just a glimpse of the...
Yeah, it should be. Ilham Halabi won the race.
30 and...
Jazrin is second.
159 and 158. Oh yeah!
Yes, by 1 point.
Okay. I missed that one.
For once, I managed to actually get my maths right this time. But yes, provisionally by a point, Ilham Halabi has won the championship from Jazrin Jali, with Saif Al-Afrin has finished in third position, not in the championship, but in this race. But that was very, very tense moments indeed for the end of the race, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Cairo, it was so crazy, man.
Now we see some of the other drivers crossing the... Be a bit of a car park happening at the end of the race there, and that was a big impact from 2 of the drivers there, and that looks like it's going to be a bit of a mess down at the end of the race. But the cars have finally come across the line, and that is all the drivers gone through. So just another look at the standings. Ilham Halabi has won the race, provisionally of course, and Jazrin Jali has come in second place, with Safar Refin in third. James Russell, fantastic drive by him to head up into fourth place. Freddie Ang is fifth, followed by Shami Azri, Arif Roslan, Shami Aizan, Tuku Ezanle, I do apologise, and Lloyd Lachlan managing to drag that car all the way up to 10th place. Wow. I might have to take a bit of a break. Now, of course, as fans of the series know, I do have this little litmus test as to how tense the race is. And let me tell you, I ran out of Ribena at the halfway point of the race. So that really does go to show how tense it was for everyone involved. Very, very entertaining indeed.
It certainly was an exciting season as well. We've seen so many battles take place, and of course, the ultimate racing standards here have also been so amazing. Every driver, in fact, making this race, not just fun to watch, but also I would mention very fun to commentate as well, and also for drivers to do their best in.
Absolutely, and now we're going to buy our provisional race winner and series victor. Ilham, apa khabar?
Khabar baik.
Apa perasaan dapat victory hari ni?
Tak tahu nak cakap mana. Ni mungkin yang kali keberapa ni ya. Tapi something else lah hari ni. Macam so happy dapat maintain pace. And kemenangan tu berpihak pada kita. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So walaupun ni still provisional, so kita announce lagi, tapi dia kamu mungkin akan memenangkan driver championship dengan gap satu mata saja. Apa perasaan yang agak dekat?
Itulah memang very challenging lah. Kita tahu benda tu, gap tu akan tipis. So macam mana? Daripada start of the race memang ada rasa gementar, And kita tahu yang challenger kita tu memang berbakat on fuel saving. So memang something else. Yes.
So dengan performance ni mesti ada perasaan nak fight lagi untuk season yang akan datang ya.
Ya, kemungkinan kita tengok juga macam mana mungkin kita bagi peluang orang lain juga ke.
Dan apakah cerita dia dengan teammate lain dalam Todak Motorsports? Adakah dia orang sihat juga habiskan race ni?
Oh, sihat. Yes. Saiful dapat place yang ketiga. Cuma Michael dia ada beberapa pelanggaran lah. So dia terpaksa menamatkan perlombaan dalam pit.
Betul dia. Mungkin dia tak rasa kurang baik sangat lah, tapi untuk Saiful Arifin dan especially untuk kamu mesti rasa best jugalah.
Saya rasa dah cukup bagus juga tu sebab kita memerlukan dua driver dekat atas kan untuk team championship kan. Kalau tak silap kita bersaing dengan URT dan kita dapat gapkan lagi untuk confirmkan lagi kemenangan untuk team lah.
So itu dia double championship dengan team dan driver sekali, mesti rasa bangga jugalah.
Alhamdulillah, was so happy. Terima kasih untuk Michael, teammates, Saiful and the rest of the Todak guys, and especially untuk Todak lah. Terima kasih untuk bagi peluang untuk series yang kini. Kita akan cuba tengok macam mana untuk series yang seterusnya, series yang ketiga
So itu dia Ilham Helab. Agak menakjubkan juga dia punya race pace pada malam ni, and it looks like it's going to be an absolutely fantastic fight. Hopefully we'll be able to continue it through season 3.
Okay, thank you Ilham and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Okay, we're trying to get hold of JJ. I think I saw him in the server, but he disappeared. Where is he? Tadi ada.
We'll try and get hold of JJ. Obviously, he was so close to where he had to be in order to win the championship. It all went down to the line there, and I mean, he must be quite gutted there. I have to say.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Okay, so that was a good fight there for the last 10 minutes or so. And for season 3, we've yet to announce what car we're going to be using, what category of
GT3.
Meanwhile, on the other side of AIMC, we have SRA. So anything to share with us?
Yes.
Weihan.
So I do have a leash around my neck, but what I can say is that Sim Racers Asia, the series that we've seen so many of our friends in Malaysia race in throughout the past years. In fact, we're coming back.
Yay!
We're coming back for. We're going to go live. I think somewhere towards the end of this month we will start what we call a GT3 season. So we're running GT3 cars. That is thus far what I can confirm. GT3 cars. Everything else, I think details will be made known. We'll try to confirm the details as we go closer to a start date. But yes, look, guys, keep on the edge of your seats, man. We're going racing with GT3s again.
Absolutely, that's fantastic stuff. Drivers from all around Asia are going to come down to the SRA series. Now, having just had a little look through some of the archives and as well as some of the times we've had SRE versus SRA events, I can definitely predict that it's going to be a very, very exciting series to be involved in.
Yeah, we'll be seeing from Singapore. Eric Wong, is it from Singapore?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Eric Wong from Singapore.
Head to head with Ilham should be a good battle.
Oh yes, I'll definitely want to see that, man. It's going to be so crazy.
We're not forgetting Shaiful also.
Oh, absolutely. Cypher is really fast as well.
So who are the regulars in SRE from your memory?
So we would have many guys racing in AIMC. In fact, also I do recall many of them racing in Sim Racers Asia in the past. So I'm just going to go through some names off the back of my head. Like Ahmad Norisam, Jai Srin, Saiful, Ilham, and I think even more drivers. I think Farid also. I did see him race from time to time as well. From I think if our friends in Indonesia also, we cannot ever forget them. Indra, Rama in the past, and Ferdian Pratama also. We do see them race as well, and of course we've got the guys from Macau, Hong Kong. Kevin Huang from Taiwan, who's he's pretty much the OG of Sim Racers Asia. Friends from China as well. We do have them as part of the family, and also from time to time we would also have friends from the Middle East racing with us. Guys from Lebanon and the United Arab Emirates, and we've also got, of course, a very fast driver who you might know as Niranjan Kumar from India. Of course, he does represent India in various high-profile sim racing competitions, and he's also very much part of our sim racing family.
So yeah, that is a snapshot of sim racing in the continent that is Asia, and that's going to be very exciting to see all these guys come down to the series and really show what it's all about. A lot of drivers with a lot of experience, and with a lot of the drivers having a lot of experience, especially in GT3 cars. It's looking like it's going to be a very exciting season indeed.
So for those who don't know on how to get onto SRE, the SRE championship, so do you have any what are the steps entering the?
Yes, so as we open up registration, so just of course, first and foremost, you have to ensure that you are registered to the Sim Racers Asia League within the iRacing League's function. So you do register there. After that, we will also update the community on the additional steps of registration. So because this season we might use a registration form for drivers. So all of that will take place on the iRacing forums. You will receive information on the iRacing forums first. Then Discord probably after that, or sometimes you might just receive information via myself. I might like message some WhatsApp groups or community groups that you might be part of. I kind of enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But yes, just keep a lookout on the iRacing forums, the Sim Racers Asia thread, or on the Sim Racers Asia Discord. You would be able to receive most updates over there.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll see perhaps a few more Malaysians take on the challenge that is the Sim Racers Asia Championship, and we'll hope to see yourself out there as well, battling the elements that is the media room. Hopefully we'll be able to join in on a couple of the races there as well, and see what racing is like on the other side.
What are the favorite GT3 cars that they are usually on the top 10?
Oh wow, this I think we will have a good representation of many cars. So, Eric drives Ferrari. We've got some rather fast guys who are consistent. They're in the Mercedes. Some fast guys on the Audi R8. Those guys who prefer to have a stable car, they'll do the BMW Z4. You cannot forget Kevin Huang, who's absolutely bullet fast in the oldest GT3 on the iRacing service, the McLaren. And what other GT3 cars are there that I might have missed? I think that you will. I think some of the China guys will also turn up in the Vapid Bullets.
I was just going to ask about that, because there's a couple of drivers in the AIMC Championship who have a real liking to the Ford GTs. Now, I'm a Corvette man myself, but I can see the appeal of an American supercar trying to take on the Europeans there. So it's nice to know that the Ford GTs are still going to be battling it out.
Absolutely. So don't worry, we'll make the GT3 options as open as possible. Of course, after we factor in perhaps some of the balance of performances that we might have to review, but of course we will open the GT3 options as wide as possible.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's been a pleasure having you, Weihan, for season 2. We hope to see you again in season 3. And anything that would you like to comment on this season?
Likewise, man. Look, thanks for having me on season 2 as well as season 1. Also before this, I had so much fun doing both seasons 1 and 2. I've just seen how great competition can even take place even with cars like the Kia and MX-5s. These cars produce such good competition for drivers of all paces, and I think I've only seen among the best quality of racing, quality of races. With these sessions, and I'm just so grateful that I've been given this opportunity to commentate this series.
Yeah, and speaking for myself as well, it has been absolutely brilliant to see this series grow in leaps and bounds from when we started it during the troubles, let's say, right up until now. It's been absolutely fantastic working and meeting all the new guys, so it does leave me to thank very briefly. First of all, our sponsors, of course, Works Engineering, Lucas Oil Precision, Sim Racing, Android King, and our supporter, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia, has been very, very helpful and very, very supportive of sim racing here in Malaysia and esports and all the other good stuff. So we hope to be able to work with them in the future. Also, a special thanks to our director, Karo Alang, to Chan Wei Han, who has kept me company throughout the last couple of seasons, absolutely helping me out a great deal from that. So a very special thank you to you as well for carrying me along. And another man who's helped to carry me along is Kelvin T, who has done a good job throughout the post-race shows, giving his insights and analysis. And of course, our steward for this championship, our chief steward, Paduka Shoaib, a special thanks to him and to all the guys who have been working in the background to make AIMC what it is today.
Yeah, just for the before we close this session, was the cause of the mishap before for the full course yellow. Let's just see what happened. Was lots of cars. Oh, that was massive. Yeah, that was an FCY due there. So okay, Wei Han, thanks again. Matthew, thanks for your time, and all of the guys supporting in viewing the streams and sharing the streams. We'll be returning back soon. In the meantime, we have a 2 weeks break. It's just not a break. We're gonna do lots of stuff. Maybe just a fundraise of maybe and skippy race. So update you, and SRA will be some rounds of SRA will be broadcasted here. That's to be confirmed on the dates. Thank you for SRA for collaborating with us. And Wei Han, I would like to thank you for your time again for this season, and we're gonna close this session with good night.
Hi, I'm Matt from Interformula, and welcome to our Research and Development Centre. We do all forms of research and development, all the way from designing and developing our own race cars to simulators to running cars in racing series and rallying all over the world. We also do a lot in the Asian Classic Car Championship, so do look out for us. For any information, do contact us with the number down below.